What's up, everybody? Hello and welcome to episode number 253 of the VK Bros with Jason and Alex von Cannell. It is Saturday, actually, the 7th of June. I just want to take this time to shout out to all of our old sales buddies. Hope you're all enjoying end of financial year. Wish you all the best. I hope you wrap up a very successful year in the sales department. How are you going this week, Alex?
Yeah, know your numbers, guys. Know your numbers. I actually went and saw a friend at a dealership this morning. They were getting pumped, and I asked one of the young business managers, like, "Oh, how much script are you written this month?" He didn't know. Got to know your numbers. Know your numbers.
That's a problem. If you don't know, and it's only the 7th, that's a problem.
Yeah. You have to know on the daily.
Yeah.
Sure. I've had a rough week this week. I let my diet lax a little bit, so I can pay for it. Got a big pimple on my neck. Got this one on the side of my face. Really painful ones.
Fortunately for our viewers, we don't record in HD.
Yeah, I got judged because I was parked at the gym this morning and someone had noticed that I had a bag of lollies in the center console of my car. And I said, that's the equivalent of me doing like heroin under a bridge. Yeah. It's like you're just eating some pineapples under the...
Yeah, I'm getting a bag on the weekend.
That's me, an Allen's bag.
Yeah. Party mix.
Yeah.
Alright guys, look, as usual, massive show for us this week. We're starting off with the most famous lovers tiff in right-wing history. But we're also going to talk a little bit later in the show about some of the COVID narrative reversing. We did put a post up this week about how the TGA has reversed its guidance on vaccinating children under 18. And how apparently now the risks no longer outweigh the potential benefits. So they suggest against it. So we're going to get into that and how that's actually going a bit more mainstream. But let's start with the breakup.
Let's start with thanking everyone for listening.
Okay, we can start there.
Let's also thank anyone that's subscribed to the channel, liked us on Rumble, follow us on Instagram. We know there's a stack of people that consume our show. Just push that button. Push the button. It does help us.
And we are back on YouTube now too. So if that makes it easy for you, please go right ahead and view us on that while we are still there anyway. Because I'm sure that we'll say something sometime soon that will run afoul of the powers that be.
Yep.
All right. So over to the world famous breakup between Trump and Elon Musk. This escalated extremely quickly. So for those of you who haven't heard, and I'm sure anyone who's listening to this show has probably heard about it days ago by the time this drops on Monday, Elon Musk has left the White House. Everything seemed fairly cordial at the time. In the press conference where he was receiving his key to the White House as a reward for all of his services, he was sporting a black eye, which he claimed was from his son X, which is now starting to seem less and less likely. Due to the absolute mudslinging that DJT and Elon Musk have been throwing at each other ever since he left. So there's a couple of tweets he will start out with. There was a few tweets in the lead up to this, but this is where things really super escalated. So there's a couple of truths here from Donald J. Trump. The first one being, the easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and billions of dollars, is to terminate...
Billions and billions.
Yeah, actually, do you want to read these? You can do the impression.
The easiest way to save money in our budget, billions and billions of dollars, is to terminate Elon's government subsidies and contracts. I always surprised that Biden didn't do it.
Well done. That was actually really, really good. I'll pay that.
Elon was wearing thin. I asked him to leave. I took his EV mandate, his little mandate, that forced everyone to buy electric cars nobody else wanted, that he knew for months I was going to do, and that he went crazy. Little Elon went crazy.
Well done. So yeah, shots fired by Donald Trump. Now, do you have any thoughts on those particular tweets? Because I do.
I have a thought at the end. Thoughts are at the end.
All right.
And now you have to do an Elon impersonation to read his reply.
I just can't do it. Honestly, I'm going to apologise in advance, guys. I'm not in the mood today. I've not had a very playful morning. I've had a very frustrated dad morning, and I'm just not in the mood.
Okay, so Elon Musk said, time to drop the really big bomb. Real Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. That is the real reason they have not been made public. Have a nice day, DJT.
All right. So let's discuss this. I want your thoughts on
No. You go first. You go first because the one that I've got is not my original idea, but when I heard this, I was like, oh, that's it.
It
So
makes a
you
lot
go
of
first.
sense. Yeah, I think there's many different levels that you can play this at. Let's start at the base level. Judging the tweets and the truths for the information contained within them on their merits, from the Trump tweet truth angle, I should say, the stuff about the EV mandate and also the renewable energy subsidies that he's removed, Elon Musk has never cared about that. And this is the reason, for anyone of you who don't know, because this is a very common theme I'm seeing reported in the media, that Elon left in a huff because Trump was going to remove all these renewable subsidies. He doesn't want them. And the reason why he doesn't want them is because he knows his company can operate without them, but a lot of his competitors in the EV car space can't. So a lot of the other companies which are kind of eating his lunch at the moment because they're able to sell cheaper cars because of these renewable vehicle subsidies that are being handed out, he knows that they can't actually afford to sell the cars at those prices in the United States market without those subsidies. So he wants it gone.
Also completely blocks China coming in and destroying the car market.
Correct. So it actually benefits Tesla to have those subsidies removed.
Sorry.
Oh, there you go. So it actually benefits Tesla to have those subsidies removed because it'll actually end up removing a lot of their competitors from the marketplace in itself. On the Elon Musk side of things, I don't believe that Trump is involved in the Epstein files. And here's the reason why. If he was, you probably would have seen it in the previous 4 years under Joe Biden. Think about all of the things they tried to do to destroy Donald Trump.
Why would you get him on an old porn star?
Yeah.
And not underage girls on a pedophile island?
Diddling kids where apparently they're supposed to, like it was a compromise operation with hundreds of hours of video footage of it happening. So, yeah, I just think that that's one of the... Again, Elon is a troll and kind of childish and apparently hopped up on ketamine on almost a day-to-day basis now. I just think that was one of the things where you could drop that bomb to get the most impact. And look, at the time I saw that, I think that tweet had been up for like 2 hours and had 63 million views. So that was a very interesting play. Now, let's take it up to the next level. Can we go to the next level?
Yeah.
I think there's a bit of 4D chess being played here.
Damn it, you got there. That's right.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll. Do you want me to say my?
You do yours.
I'll do my bits, and then you can do your bits too. So I think a few things benefit both men from having this wide-scale publicized breakup. The number one being Elon Musk gets to go back to work. He gets to go back to running his companies, which he's obviously been missing a lot of time at.
Yep.
But also, who was the number one buyer of Teslas in the last 10 years? Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
And Democrats stopped buying them because he actually got into bed with Donald Trump. And now, all of a sudden, I guarantee you will see a bunch of Democrats coming straight back over and becoming massive Elon Musk fans again. And therefore, they will start going and supporting and buying Tesla products instead of burning down Tesla dealerships. Let me just bring... Here we go.
Tesla, I think yesterday it was like down. It was 25% down yesterday.
Yeah, it was like the worst day in Tesla stock history.
Yeah. All right. Can I do mine?
Yeah, go.
So it's not mine. This is not mine.
Okay.
I told you that this new work contract that I've got, there's a guy there that sits at the very pointy end of conspiracy theoropathy. He's like, it is 4D chess because now you have Democrats demanding the release of the Epstein files.
Yeah, well, that's another good point too.
Knowing full well that they were the ones who were blocking the release because they're all on it.
Yeah.
Now, Trump, we know that Trump has at least been on the plane. There's that famous interview that I can't seem to find again, where they're asking about it, and he's like, he likes them youngsters, bit strange, bit of a weird guy, strange guy. And then he's also kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah,
before.
so a bit of background on that. Look, Epstein obviously was a character that was trying to become connected to every billionaire or powerful person in America. That was his job. It was literally his role in the world to do. So it would be normal for someone like a Donald Trump to rub shoulders with him at some time. But the biggest difference between Trump and a lot of the other people who, like your Bill Gateses and your Bill Clintons of the world, number one, like you said, Trump kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago because apparently he was being inappropriate towards one of his friend's daughters or something like that, I think it was. But also, Trump completely stopped associating with him after his initial conviction for child sex offences in the early 2000s.
Bill Gates.
Unlike Bill Gates.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I think that one of the reasons why, I do believe that it was the Democrats that were literally doing the cover-up and hiding things, and it's because Bill Clinton is on the flight logs like 27 times.
No, it's 50. I heard it was 54 times.
All right, it's more than once. Because I'm sure if you fly there the first time and you go, there's heaps of young girls here, there's some bad things going on.
Get me back on that island.
If you don't go back the second time, I could give you the benefit of the doubt. Like, you came, you saw, you're like, this is not for me, I'm out.
Yeah.
But any more than one time, you're probably at least culpable in what was happening over there.
I think it also gives Elon the ability to, so Doge. So maybe we were too ambitious to think that Doge was going to save the $1 billion a day that they set out to do. But what it did do is brought to light the amount of corruption that is built into the system.
Yeah.
And therefore, people are no longer going to cop it. I think it's had that big effect here in Australia as well. I think people are starting to see it here too. But now he might be able to do kind of some more work on it, even though he's not working directly for the business.
He's looking at starting another political party.
I think it's all
bullshit.
I think the other thing I was thinking too is what is this masking? I always think this is too greater an event. Dude, they're meeting the aliens or something. Like there is an alien meeting at the White House right now, and everyone's got their eyes fixed on Twitter and Truth Social.
Yep.
And no one has watched the grey alien walk into the White House for their meeting.
Dude, we were watching Elon Musk in there every day.
Yeah, so it was pretty cool. Okay, how can we tell if this all disappears in the next day or so? It's a ruse, right?
Look, I don't think that that's as simple as that, because I don't think this will be allowed to disappear, because this is the fuel that the mainstream media has been waiting for.
Yeah, but if they stop tweeting it,
if Trump and Elon stop tweeting it,
yeah,
okay.
Did they get what they wanted?
Did you hear? There's another theory which I heard this week on No Agenda that Adam Curry was talking about, and this one's a bit of a wild theory, but it may have some legs. And look, hey, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. JD Vance has been very quiet during this whole process. Has he tweeted anything out? Do you want to have a quick look?
Yeah, I'll look.
Have a look. There are some connections between Elon Musk, JD Vance, and Peter Thiel.
Yep. Yes.
Which are very interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Peter Thiel and Elon Musk obviously were together back in the whole PayPal mafia days. Peter Thiel also was the one who picked up JD Vance straight out of Harvard.
Yep.
And he worked for them. So what's this one here? So JD Vance. There are many lies the corporate media tells us about President Trump. One of the most glaring is that he's impulsive or short-tempered. Anyone who has seen him operate under pressure knows that's ridiculous. It's maybe the single and biggest disconnect between fake media perception and reality. Blah blah. Yeah. So he's not really commenting on, apart from going, I back my boy, and Trump is even-tempered. But this is where it gets interesting. Adam Curry had a theory that Peter Thiel and Elon Musk are essentially orchestrating a technocratic coup technocratic takeover of the US government, where essentially what they're attempting to do, and this is all allegedly, this is the conspiracy theory, right? This is stick your tinfoil hats on. Essentially, JD Vance is their guy, and what they're trying to do, Elon saw Donald Trump as the best avenue for getting JD Vance into the picture. So that's why Elon Musk supported Trump to the tune of $250 million to get him elected. As long as I think there was something to do with Elon Musk actually having a hand in choosing JD Vance as the vice president as well,
Yep.
as sort of a condition behind this money being thrown behind the Trump campaign. Because you got to remember, it wasn't that long ago that JD Vance was a very vocal Trump critic.
Yep.
Right? That was widely reported through the media as well. So the idea is that Peter Thiel, Elon Musk have orchestrated Trump winning the presidency knowing that he can't run again. JD Vance is the vice president, who is their guy, who is going to assist them in bringing in the basically technocratic oligarchic rule of America. And then now that all of those pieces are in place, you start rolling towards the impeachment of Donald Trump to remove him and install JD Vance as the guy.
Okay, so I agree with half of it. I don't think there's any need to impeach him. I think if you just wait for him to run his term, and then, but I absolutely know, without a shadow of doubt, that Palantir, who Peter Thiel is a co-founder of with Alex Karp, they have said outwardly they want to be the technology that underpins the American government.
Yeah.
So they want to use AI software. They essentially want to update the whole... Like, it'd be the biggest tech deal in human history.
Yeah.
Probably the biggest deal in history, where they would replace every single program with Palantir software. I'm on that. I've literally watched a interview with Alex Karp talking about his ambitions to do that.
Yeah, okay.
Now, if you know any of Whitney Webb's work, she talks about how Palantir... She's been saying this for years, that that's what they want.
Right.
But even worse than that, if anyone's seen the movie Minority Report with Tom Cruise, which talks about pre-crime, where they use an AI algorithm to decide when... Or sorry, they use three semi-conscious people to envision crimes before they happen. That's what Palantir does using AI. So they have... I've said it on the show before, but for new listeners, it's worth knowing. They've collected stacks of data. They essentially got to record every single fire department and ambulance and police call out in... I think it was in Chicago or something. It was this test bed. To the point where they've got this massive data set that they know when the next fire is going to be and where.
Yeah.
And what they want to do is they want to plug in an even larger data set and to be able to predict crime.
So that also begs the question too, was that the real point of Doge? Was Doge really not about getting Elon in there to cut government spending or anything like that? Was Doge all about handing Elon the keys to the data?
No, not the data. It's not the data. It's saying, look how antiquated the systems are.
Oh yeah,
Think about all these.
They need an upgrade.
We have a cave that's got forklifts that bring paper documents in there. We have no line items on the thing. Think about it. If you think back, what you've said is bang on. We have all they've talked about is systematic failure.
Yeah.
They've talked about using AI to do payments for, I think, war veterans. I think they wanted to start to do the pensions. So it's all being laid out. And also maybe even just to free up the capital to say, hey, we've like this thing is going to cost you $1 trillion to buy. Maybe Congress would never ever pass it unless there was money left over. This could be, and Elon can't let Peter Thiel become richer than him. He's only worth $12 billion. and I think Elon Musk is worth 200 billion, so he's going to get a piece. But I also know that X wants to be the payments software for the world. For the
internet. They want to be the everything app. Like Elon has said that for a long time. Is they want to be everything. X wants to be your social media app. They want to be your bank. They want to be your payment processor. They want to be everything. Sort of like, is it WeChat in China? Is that the same sort of thing? Yeah.
WeChat, does text messages, payments. It's your bank account. It's attached to your social credit system. It's social media. It's everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So, look, there's some wild times ahead. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how all this sort of stuff plays out. But you made the other point before, and I think it is super relevant as well, is what is all of this also a smokescreen for at the same time? Like, are we about to invade Iran? Like, is that something that's happening right now? What else is going on in the shadows? And, the other concern too, and maybe even this is part of it, they were talking about on No Agenda. I can't remember the exact specifics of what the conversation was, but they were talking about Russia-Ukraine. So remember, there's still a war going in Russia-Ukraine. And again, Trump said, day one, it will be over. And let's not. And yes, there's been a resource deal signed, all those sorts of things, but there was a massive escalation in that conflict last week when Ukraine used drones to take out something like 30% of Russia's warplanes.
Dude, did you see the footage?
I did. It was wild.
It's like a video game. Literally,
totally.
A drone, a single drone, into the fuselage of a large aircraft and just destroy it.
Yeah, so there is massive. That's a massive uptick in hostilities, and even to the point where I believe that Vladimir Putin afterwards said that that sort of action actually can justify the use of a nuclear weapon. Now, not the big Hiroshima-type nuclear weapon. There's different grades of nuclear weapons.
Tactical nukes, or whatever they're calling it.
Yeah. But so obviously that conflict is not going towards peace like we were sort of being led to believe. And the thing that you have to keep in mind is, who does that benefit? The military-industrial complex. The same people who wanted that war in the first place are the ones who benefit the most out of it continuing to go on. And maybe a lot of this Trump-Elon spat is to cover up the fact that he said he would end all these conflicts on day one. We're 150 odd days in now. Russia-Ukraine's getting worse. Israel-Gaza's still going. Do we actually want those things to stop? Or is the military-industrial complex just keeping on rolling, getting everything they want?
Just a real side note. One of my favorite podcasters went on Joe Rogan this week, Jesse Michaels.
Yeah, I listened to it.
And one of the things where they're talking about the black budget.
Yeah.
And what I wish was raised there that wasn't, and was really surprising, is, so when we talk about black budgets, it's, let's provision a whole bunch of cash. Let's never be able to account for it so that you can use it on programs to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of the alien community is saying that they're using it for advanced technology. They don't want anyone to know about it. They want to pay companies in the background, in the shadows, to do this development so that they can operate without congressional jurisdiction or oversight.
Yeah.
And then you can create this great technology, right? Why do they never once mention that the Pentagon has failed every single... it's obvious that the budget...
Yeah, of course.
How many? What is it? $2 trillion short or whatever? Whatever I can't remember what the number was, but the FBI, the Pentagon regularly misses by hundreds of billions of dollars.
They have never passed an audit, not once in their history.
Yeah. So isn't the answer definitely yes?
The day before September 11 happened, I think it was Donald Rumsfeld came out and said that there was $1.3 trillion unaccounted for.
Yeah.
And then a plane hit the part of the Pentagon that all the records
a plane.
Yeah, a plane.
If you see the footage, it's a missile.
A plebon.
Yeah.
A plissile. Hit the part of the Pentagon that all the files are kept. So, unfortunately, that 1.3 trillion, we'll just never know. And actually, interesting on that note as well, I just finished listening to Kash Patel on Rogan's, and here's the thing that I found so interesting. He was talking about the fact that they can't prosecute a lot of these people they can prove did wrongdoing because statute of limitations is 5 years
Yep.
on a lot of these different crimes that these government officials are participating in. A presidential term is 4 years. What a great scam. You get in, you commit the crimes, you cover for yourself for the whole 4 years, and look, hey, great, if you get the second term, then you're golden anyway, because you can just withhold all of the information until your second term's over, and then you can release it all and no one can be charged anyway. Or you just get your what they call the deep state, these bureaucrats who run a lot of these agencies, who stick around for, you know, between different administrations for their whole careers. You just get them to do you a solid for 12 months after your administration's out, and oh, sorry, didn't pass the statute of limitations has passed, we can't charge these people.
This is what I'm trying to get across to people.
Yeah.
Is the laws are only against you.
That's right.
They can do whatever the fuck they want.
Yep.
In Australia, these new, you know, the new unrealised gains tax,
Mhm.
that's only for us.
That's right, not politicians.
That's not for them. I even saw today, and this kind of triggered me a little bit, there was some diplomatic vehicle that drove past. So they had a police escort, two bikes,
Yep.
that were flying a red over white flag. Is that Poland? Polish flag.
Yeah, could be.
Red over white. No, that's white over red. I'm pretty sure it's red over white.
Oh, jeez, you're racist.
Red over white flag. Who is it? Who is it? No, it's saying Poland again. Another country red or white flags. Austria. Horizontal. Anyway.
Maybe it's the Polish flag, but that's how you fly it in the Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah. Then then they had a Lexus with a number plate that has a crown on it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And then I just thought there, why are they deemed as special?
Mm.
So why does they get this special escort?
Yeah, but even
Without
things
the
like
road rules.
diplomatic immunity. Like if you're a foreign diplomat and you're in a country and you commit crimes, it doesn't matter because you've got diplomatic immunity. So you're what I see the picture you're painting. It's literally, let's just write a bunch of rules that only work for us at the top and allow us to control everyone else beneath us and make sure they can never get to the top.
Here, I've just pulled this up. We'll do this in real time. Let's see.
Yeah, cool.
So I want to know, what laws does Canberra have that's special, unique to them? Canberra, the capital city of Australia, has several unique laws to distinguish it from the other states. One notable law is the ban on front fences, which was implemented 100 years ago to promote open and green spaces. Another quirk rule prohibits the use of certain animals in circus acts, such as bears, elephants, giraffes, primates, and non-domestic felines, so the politicians can keep them all for themselves, while allowing others like ponies, dogs, goats, and camels. Additionally, Canberra has decriminalised the personal use of cannabis, allowing residents aged 18 and over to possess up to 50 grams of dried cannabis or 150 grams of wet cannabis. However, growing cannabis plants is restricted to a minimum of 2 per person and 4 per household. It must be done in private space and accessible public.
That doesn't mention, they've also decriminalised like party drugs as well. So you can have like cocaine in Canberra.
Let's see. But it's just an example of like, even look at the defined benefit scheme that only office workers get. Here we go. Canberra, the Australian ACT, taking a unique approach to drug laws compared to other states. As of October 28, 2023, the ACT became the first jurisdiction in Australia to decriminalise the possession of small amounts of illicit drugs, including heroin, cocaine, LSD, and methamphetamine.
These are the people running our country. This is what they're on while they make the decisions.
And look, I agree with this. I think we should do this too. This should
totally, but everyone should be able to do it.
Health focus. Yeah, so we just have to understand. And also think about this. They get guaranteed pay rises that they get to decide on.
Yes.
They're always more than CPI.
Yes. And
yet
but hold on, Alex. No, you're wrong. Their pay rises, they've created a completely independent tribunal that rules on pay rises for politicians. They just get to control who sits on the tribunal and gets paid for the job.
But this is mafia shit.
It's total mafia shit. Absolutely.
And
I just want people to see it for what it is and understand that they actually have no more rights as a human being than we do.
Yeah.
And it's only, we are actually giving them the power to do things to us they should never have done to us.
So look, let me just break this down and give it a brief example. So the most egregious example of this is this super tax that they're talking about. And the way that it's all being spoken about online, and I'm subscribing more and more to dead internet theory, because surely the people who continue to post in support of that policy are bots. They have to be. But there's all these people out there saying it only affects like 0.5% of the country. It's only 80,000 people that are going to be affected by this, and they can afford it. They can afford it. Okay, well, let's consider this. Everyone complains about the boomers, right? Everyone complains about the boomers because the boomers just bought a house for $50,000 30 years ago.
I say the boomers bought a house for 1 times yearly income.
Yeah. And now it's worth $3 million, right? In 30 years' time. So it is reasonable to think, because we know inflation's baked into the system, and we know that no one got back to us about how money is created in Australia. Because they don't care.
They don't care.
They don't care.
You're just going to sit in this little rat wheel whilst your money is literally just disappearing.
Yeah. You need to understand that.
Crazy.
But
that just made me really angry.
Yeah, I know. So here's the thing, right? So if within 30 to 40 years, housing prices went from being worth, say, your average house was 50 to 100,000, to now the average price is, depending on where you live, between $1 and $2 million. So it is reasonable to assume that the same thing will happen to people's superannuation balances, right? Look, the government just approved another raise to the minimum wage, right? So more minimum wage means more money going into your super. So it may not be this year. It may not be 10 years from now. It may not be 20 years from now. But there will come a point in time where 100% of superannuation balances are worth over $3 million. Your complete apathy towards this policy is dooming all future generations to remain poor for eternity. It's literal enslavement of future generations.
It's using it's converting you poorie's labour into your physical labour at your job into cash for them and their policies. And this is, we're talking, the function of this is superannuation companies are a labour ideal, and those superannuation companies, well, there's 4 or 5 of them, the big industry funds, use that money to push companies to make policies that governments can't get through.
Correct, because they hold such high percentage of shares in a lot of major companies, because you're basically handing over your money.
They garnish your wages to use it against you.
Yeah, they aggressively invest against you. That's right. And I think, is it Q Super or it's CBus, I think, that the current CEO of CBus is Wayne Swan, who is the ex-Labor treasurer. Like, they are completely entrenched in that system. And all it does is enrich them. Think about this. Think about if you had a company and your company was handed millions of dollars a year because the government told every Australian that if you're working, you have to hand 9.5% of your wages to this company, your company, you get to take that money, and that company can invest it on the stock market, and yeah, you'll get a return, but they get to get a percentage of the return that they make off your money.
No, that's wrong. That's wrong. That's not how they calculate it.
Go.
They take a percentage of the entire amount.
Yeah, of course.
Win, lose, or draw.
That's right.
If they lose money, they still get paid.
That's right. Yeah. Jeez, yeah, it gets even worse, isn't it? But it's toxic. And again, this is a big problem with the mentality of this country. Not enough people look at what are the end results of the policies. People only look at how I feel about the sales pitch that I'm receiving to support the policy right now. So this super tax we're talking about, in 40 to 50 years from now, those generations of Australians who will be captured under this new tax will be cursing us for not doing anything about it. They'll be absolutely cursing us. The same as what we should be doing now is going, superannuation was only brought in the 90s, and in the 90s, the way that it was sold at the time was it was supposed to get more and more people off the aged pension, right? So that we as taxpayers wouldn't have to foot the bill for pensions, for retirements for people, because they would be able to fund it themselves with their own money. The amount of people self-funding retirement and therefore not taking a pension has only decreased by 5% since it was brought in. How much money do these superannuation companies control? Was it $4.5 trillion? Is that what we're talking about? Yeah, $4.5 trillion. And it only...
And do you know how much the superannuation companies charge every year to move that money around?
It depends on the super fund, but...
No, the whole
total
industry?
amount? No, what is it?
$30 billion a year.
Right, so they get to rake $30 billion in fees from you because the government has mandated that you give them your money. So they get to make $30 billion. And again, like we've cut on the show before, one of the policies that Jared Rennick was talking about leading into the election, and one of the reasons why he said that superannuation should not be mandatory, is it's unconstitutional. Yeah. It is unconstitutional for a government mandate that you have to be removed of your chattel and not have it returned to you in full. So what Alex said before is when the stock market tanks, which it will, and the superannuation industry will probably cause it down the track, because like now we've got boomers, a lot of boomers who are retiring or have retired. They're the first generation ever to have 30 years worth of super in their accounts, right? The full 30-year work cycle. And when they start withdrawing that money, what do you think the stock price is going to do? Because they have to sell the stocks to pay out the money. So the superannuation industry may even cause the next stock correction anyway.
And I can tell you $30 billion per year means that the cost to every single man, woman, and child in Australia, $1,100 a year.
Yep, $1,100 of your money gets pilfered by superannuation companies that you're forced to hand money to. It's wild. But again, the reason why these things happen is apathy. Is because Australians are indifferent. We've been the lucky country for way too long. And this is like the conversation, unfortunately, I have with a lot of people all the time, is there's a lot of people in my network who are now awake to a lot of these things, and they're starting to get far more politically engaged. But they're also starting to express frustration because they're like look at the last election result. A lot of people that I talk to are like, there's no way that Labor's going to win. And I'm like, well, you'll be surprised. They will. Yeah. Because of the reasons we discussed on the show. But then the result happens and Labor wins in a landslide and gets a record amount of seats, and they just go like, well, we just can't do anything about it. And it's like, well, no. Unfortunately, real change, it's like trying to turn around the Titanic. It's going to take a long time. And the problem is, not enough people are actually hurting. We all think we're hurting. We all think the cost of living's bad and, this and that. Hey, life is still real sweet for most people. We've still got it way too good. It has to hit a point where enough people honestly just can't afford to live anymore before any of this stuff will actually turn around. Because it is amazing.
But then it's too late.
Of course it's too late. Well, no, it's never too late. It's never too late.
No, but it is though, because in this instance, and we have said this before, and I truly believe it, the government wants you to be poor, so then you will get a payment. And once you get a payment, you'll be reliant on the government, and then whatever the government says, you have no choice but to choose them.
Yeah, I just think that it will always eventually get to a point like what Argentina got to, where things get so bad that enough people finally say enough is enough.
Well, what I'd also say too is whilst the ship is correcting, you need to look after yourself. And the fact that, like Jason said, nobody asked us to go through, no one looked at where money comes from, is fucking crazy to me.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me. You are working, raise your hand in the audience if you're working a full-time job. Just know that your labour and toil would get the money you would see here you go. Let's paint it this way. What's the average wage? Let's just round figures. 100 grand.
Yep, call it
in
100 grand.
Australia. $100,000. So you work 38 hours a week for 48 weeks, and you get $100,000. Out of that $100,000, you give, say, 30 odd grand to the government.
Mm-hmm.
You get to keep $70,000. Okay. The bank writes one mortgage and has made out of thin air. The average mortgage is 800 grand.
Mm-hmm.
They make $1.6 million out of nowhere. Now, they don't get to use that money because that money goes to the boomer that sold their property.
Yep.
However, the bank charges that person a interest rate, 5-6%, on $1.8 million. So they sell back money that never existed before
Mm-hmm.
in the clicking of a finger. Tick, 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 tick,
That's
tick,
right.
done.
How's
that a fair trade?
Oh, it's not. But people don't even realize it happens. I post up something during the week from, I think it's called the Two Worlds Collide podcast. Really good creator. I think he's a South Australian guy, seems to be ex-military, but he posts up a lot of really informative reels. And he had one during the week, and it's the perfect illustration of what we're talking about with protecting yourself while the people who run our government destroy our country to enrich themselves. He's talking about money printing. And we talk about money printing all the time because when you print money, it just devalues the value of the currency itself. Between 2019 and 2024, a 5-year period because of COVID, well, COVID was the justification for this, the total amount of Australian dollars in circulation went from, so at the beginning, at 2019, we had $1.13 trillion total currency. Total. That went to $2.26 trillion in 5 years. It doubled. It doubled in a 5-year period. That means the value of each of those dollars halved in a 5-year period. That's where the inflation comes from. Because we doubled the monetary supply. So we have double the amount of dollars chasing the same amount of goods, therefore the value is half. Now to put in perspective, it took from 1970 to 2019 to print the first $1.13 trillion. Right? That's why inflation wasn't seen as at such a alarming rate.
Why did you pick 1970, Jason?
Oh, because that's when the West decided to move away from the gold standard and started creating our lifestyles based off free money, essentially, because there was nothing to back it. So from 1970 to 2019, 1.13 trillion printed. From 2019 to 2024, 1.13 trillion printed. So that is like we said, we got heavily criticized. I remember it was one of the biggest arguments I had in the YouTube comments when we first started talking about a lot of COVID stuff, was I said on the show, we're experiencing one of the biggest wealth transfers from the poor and middle class to the rich elite in global history. And I got so much pushback, but this is what we're talking about. Because the reason why this is a wealth transfer is because the rich people are the people who own the assets. They own the houses, they own the businesses, they own the mines, they own all the big expensive assets, right? So when you deflate the value of a currency by 50%, that means on paper, all of the values of those assets double. So they're twice as rich as they were 5 years ago because of what they did with monetary policy. At the same time, your $100,000 average wage, which, most of you have gotten pay rises over the last 5 years, some of you even record pay rises, but I would say if the average salary now is $100,000, back then it was probably 80 grand 5 years ago. So your salary's gone up by 20, but your buying power was only 50 grand.
The buying power that we have today in Australia is the same as what it was in 2016.
Yeah, it's wild.
I got this, a friend of the show sent me a screenshot that of a conversation he had with another friend.
Yep.
And they must have been talking about digital currencies. And I want to go through it. So he said, so obviously talking about Bitcoin. Tell me where I can spend it? Question mark, question mark, question mark. I can't pay rent with it. I can't buy food with it. I can't buy petrol with it. I can't buy goods with it. It's 100% reliant on someone wanting to pay more for an imaginary coin than I paid for it. It can all go away in seconds. It's not regulated or backed by any government rules / authority, which I know the crypto heads say is the appeal of it. But the very thing they criticize is the same thing that protects their investment. Look, maybe one day digital currency will become the norm and the dollar as we know it will disappear. I doubt that'll be in my lifetime. If it does go the way, governments will 100% step in and take control of it, so it won't look anything like it does today. People holding high-value crypto could see their investment diminish hugely. When it happens, I'll get on board then. It is like buying and selling the dollar now. People trade currency, but it doesn't have the volatile swings that crypto does. Regulated crypto will be the same thing. Now, to paint a bit of a picture of the man, this man bought Betamax when the cassette tape came out. Sorry, VHS. He then bought the HD player when Blu-ray came out.
He literally said in that statement that when Bitcoin tanks and loses all its value, then he'll invest.
He bought the first Google phone as the iPhone came out.
Mad.
I have always used this gentleman as a barometer for what the future will hold. Whatever he predicts, do the opposite and you will win.
Yep.
But this is another example of people who refuse, so they let their emotional response to the thing tell them not to even bother looking to steel arm the arguments that they've made about it to then make their decisions. Well, that's a terrible data set. Well, literally what he said is a category, is false. The governments can't take over. They've tried. China tried. They've tried a bunch of times. It doesn't work, right? You can't. It's peer-to-peer. They can't buy it all because if they did, they have to give us money.
That's right.
Right? And then if they put a lot of buy-side pressure, they want to buy it all, guess what?
The price goes
all
up.
of us are so fucking rich.
That's right.
And then, essentially we break the financial system and we all profit from it. What else did he say? 100% reliant on someone wanting to pay more for it. The currency that you currently use, they get to make out of a ledger for free.
Yeah, they let you get to click a button and that there's more money.
And it makes money, okay? And you can't, they can. It can all go away in seconds. The only threat to Bitcoin is quantum computing.
Yep.
But that will make also the entire financial system fall over as well.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not regulated. Your current banking system is the most regulated thing on planet Earth.
Yeah.
And look how that's...
And it's designed to work against you and keep you poor.
Backed by government rules.
I think the whole thing with our podcast is that the government doesn't know what they do. They do it for their own self-interest.
What else did you say? Won't happen in my lifetime. So will it replace currency? I don't think it will. I actually don't think it'll replace...
It can't.
No, but what I think it could do is become the basis of which every currency is delineated from.
Yeah.
So I think in the future we'll say the Australian dollar is worth X Bitcoin.
Yeah, look, maybe. That all depends, I think, on the US dollar remaining as the reserve currency.
Yeah. So we said government can step in and take control. They literally can't. Like, mechanically inbuilt into the system, they cannot do it. No one can. When it happens, yeah. Then he says, when it happens, I'll get on board. So when it goes to zero, he'll buy some.
When it tanks, I'll buy in, and then I'll get to complain about it and say everything.
People trade currency, but it doesn't have the volatile swings like crypto does. Well, that's where the trading is using volatility to profit.
That's right.
Right? Regulated crypto will be the same thing. This guy is an absolute moron.
Yeah, and...
You couldn't be more wrong. If I asked him to spell Bitcoin, he'd probably spell it wrong.
Yeah. But that unfortunately is just a mentality issue. It's people having so much ego that they're not even willing to explore a new idea if it goes against anything that they have previously thought was correct. And the reality is, we continuously get proven year after year that something that we thought was true and correct 3, 4, 5 years ago is no longer true and correct. It happens all the time. And it happens about a myriad of different subjects. It's not just COVID or Bitcoin or anything like it can happen about scientific discoveries of animals they thought were extinct, right? Like, it's just stuff changes and it happens all the time. But the fact is, so many human beings have such a closed mindset when it comes to life. They're always going to be unsuccessful. Like, they will. If you have a closed mindset in just about anything, you are doomed to fail unless you get very, very lucky. And most people don't get lucky, they just fail. You have to be open to new ideas.
That system that has got you working your ass to the bone, and no boss is happy with you having a side hustle, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Our tax system doesn't favour a side hustle, does it?
Nope.
So anyone that wants you to break out is not looking at your best interests. They don't want you connected to your family. They don't want you to go and see your friends. Like, I literally had one of my friends this week. I went and saw him at work. He's like, "What are you doing here?" I'm like, "I thought I'd come and say hi." He goes, "Oh, you just got a free hour, do you?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah, dog.
And I'm using it to connect. He had to sit there in an empty showroom and push the play button whenever the music stopped. Isn't there a Black Mirror episode about that? Like, where you just have to push the button to survive?
Yeah.
Right? That's his world. His world is a
Black Mirror episode.
It's a Black Mirror episode.
Yeah.
But the fact that no one asked about the money, or I'm hoping it's just because they went and did the research themselves and they're all shocked by it and they're taking measures, putting measures in place to maximize and the protections for themselves, is another example. Oh, it was funny because I stopped in the coffee shop with a girl this morning and she's going to get a medical procedure done. And it's not covered by private health cover. I'm like, "Oh, you haven't realised that private health cover is a scam yet, have you?" And she's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, this is the one that hates Bitcoin." So I said, what I do is I take that $130 a month that I used to pay and I just buy Bitcoin with it. And she rolls her eyes. I'm like, "Okay, think about it like this. How much money have you got out of your private health cover to pay for this thing?" She goes, "None. They don't let me touch it." Okay. "How much is it? Is it a savings account? Is that $130 a month that you've been spending? Have you got access to any?" "Well, no, only if I get certain things." Okay. I've got $5,000.
Mm-hmm.
So your operation, for me, is funded.
That's right.
And it's cost me exactly the same as what it's cost you. But I think the operation is $900. But I had the 900. You don't.
Yeah. And just for people who don't realise how this works, it's the same scam over here as it is in America, although America is here on steroids, in that if you go and get a procedure done, try to get an itemised receipt of all the costs involved. You can't get them.
This is how I say to do it. Phone call up prior and ask what what the public price is.
Yeah.
If you just had to pay for it, then ring up as someone else and ask how much it is under private health.
Yeah.
And like even little things like the remedial massage. Let's say a massage is $100.
Mm-hmm.
A part payment of that massage done through an insurance company is $120. So they just jack the price up because they're rinsing you on that end.
That's right.
So you end up paying more out of pocket, and you had to pay for the privilege.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fucking scam, dude.
Yeah, I know, and it's again supported by our government because we put in laws which state that if you sign up for private health cover, they get to put it up by a percentage any year over, was it 32 or whatever that you choose to sign up.
Well, funny you say that, because what she has been paying, she's a lot younger than me. She was paying what I stopped paying.
Interesting.
So
because costs have gone up, Alex. Even though she's a 25-year-old person who's very unlikely to have any actual events that she'll require it for, costs have gone through the roof, Alex.
Yeah.
You're going to have to put the prices up.
Yeah.
You reminded me of something before, and I want to say it before I forget it, because you're talking about like taxes and how like the system is set up to benefit them and not benefit you. Well, there was that meme that you sent me during the week that I posted up on social media, and it's two cucumbers talking to each other, but it goes, "Why is there a tobacco tax? It's so people smoke less." Oh, okay. Why is there an income tax? Duh?
I was having the reason why I was late today. Jason was very upset because he had his very heated morning this morning, and then I came in and said, "Oh, I can't do the podcast at the time that you want because I'm going out for lunch." Jazz was not happy about it. He was definitely much calmer when he got back online, but he was saying they're trying to find a developer, but every Australian developer doesn't want to do the work.
Right.
You can't, like, life's too easy here.
Yeah.
So I go to a country where if they don't work, they don't eat,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll be amazed at what you can achieve. The place I've just got a contract from, they've just had to let a young kid go. He was doing an okay job, and then just literally set the fucking job on fire because it didn't 100% go in his direction.
Yeah.
He's thrown away an amazing opportunity.
Mm.
But you got options.
Yeah.
And it sounds like a good thing. I can see it can be perceived as a good thing. We do live in a very comfortable society. But eventually someone's going to have to pay the piper.
Yeah, of course. And the thing that upsets me the most about all of it is it won't be us. It'll be future generations. It'll be my kids or their kids, or it'll be somewhere down the line. And what
I'm going to be on a yacht, dude, because I had to do stuff outside of the Australian system.
Yeah. There'll be photos of Alex in 40 years' time where he looks like one of those billionaires on a yacht that look like a rotisserie chicken surrounded by young women.
I need to show you this meme. I'll find it. But you keep talking.
Yeah, but what frustrates me the most out of all of this stuff is there are people in our generation, in your 30s, mid to late 30s, whatever, who will whinge about boomers being all about it for themselves, but who are taking all the decisions now to benefit themselves now, which will be paid for by future generations. And I just think, personally, if you don't... Like, to me, being a parent is about sacrifice. It is about... Life's not about me anymore. Life is about my kids and their futures and the future that I leave for them. That's a whole... Like, it's literally ingrained in our DNA. We are... Like, parents are not supposed to outlive their kids. Parents are not supposed to have a better quality of life than their kids. It's always supposed to be about constant improvement of the standard of living so that the next generation gets to benefit and flourish from that. That's what life is supposed to be about. And there are so many people out there who hate what the boomers have done and how successful they've become without doing anything and destroying the planet and all that sort of shit, all that garbage. But then at the same time, they're like, oh, well, this $3 million super thing, well, those rich people can afford it. I need more money for cost of living right now because I can't afford to live right now. So I need those rich people to pay for me to live right now, even though I know that my kids or their kids will probably end up having $3 million in their super balance and never be able to actually build substantial wealth. Plus, we're also setting the precedent that we as a society are comfortable with being taxed on unrealized gains. And we know that as soon as you say yes to it, it will continue to permeate through the rest of the economy.
Okay,
what have you got here?
This is a classic clip. Okay, Da Vinci's his name. All right, so this is from 2013. Okay, he does a video 2013.
A lot of you are skeptical. A lot of you don't believe in the Bitcoin system, and that's fine. You can stay on the sidelines. But if you really, really want to become wealthy in the future, I would suggest you take $1 frickin' $1, buy some Bitcoins, put it in a goddamn wallet, put it. Okay, sorry for swearing, but you know what? It's just $1. Get some Bitcoins, put it away. Goes to nothing. Who cares, right? You only spent $1. Right? You'll get a million satoshis for $1, right? And the way I see it, that will be worth $1 million adjusted for inflation once Bitcoin gets to where it's going to be. So it's up to you. You know what?
Okay, so I remember seeing this as it was happening. There was this thread, and someone said, "Where's this guy at? Like, I wonder if he's going all right." And then he responds, he's on the back of a yacht with a gold ring. And he's like a multi.
Good on him. How good is that?
I kind of feel it sometimes too. I'm trying to give people, and like a lot of my friends are just like, just give up on it. Like, if people don't want it, they don't want it. And I'm like, that's cool, but I care about the people around me. I care about, I want to be on the yacht with you guys.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I want to enjoy this all together. And, when you have morons saying stuff like, oh, it's just going to go to zero, and then all the government's going to take over it, and like, it just shows how little effort you put in. But you don't have to put the effort in. Just listen to people that have, like he had. He did the research, and he was right.
Yep.
He was right. From 2013 to now, he was right. He's got the boat. You don't have the boat.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want the boat?
Yeah, 100%. Now, look, let's move on because we are getting on a little bit in the show. Can you go to the Ben Fordham clip? So speaking of things that the government says at the time, which too many people believe, and then they just retract it quietly down the track, and no one actually holds them to account. And it's funny, I was having a conversation about something similar to this during the week, where I was talking about our show, I was talking about the podcast, and I was talking about the amount of heat that we copped, especially during the real midst of like the vaccine rollout, when we were starting to get quite vocal about that, and all of those things. And the thing that I lament the most, the thing that I hate the most about that pressure that we received during that time, is the people who put the most pressure on us, because like the standards that we had to hit were so damn high to be listened to in that period of time. And I get it, right? When you are making extraordinary claims, you need to have extraordinary evidence to back it up.
You're hearing the opposite to what you are hearing on the news and by governments every day.
Correct. So I understand that people wanted to challenge the ideas and wanted to poo-poo them and wanted to strawman them constantly, but all they really ended up doing was making us sharpen it up and be on top of the information and do all the right things. However, those same people have, at least most of them that I know, have not held the people who were wrong at the time to account for being wrong. And they just let it go. They just walked away from it.
Yeah.
So this goes for everything, like whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's COVID, whether it's whatever. When someone is saying to you something that is completely counter to the government narrative, next time something happens, don't dismiss them outright. Hear them out, do your own research, and do lots of research.
Yeah.
Look at a bunch of different sources, podcasts, websites, whatever you can find. Consume as much information on that as you possibly can, because they may not be right. But by the time you do your research and go through the process, you'll know whether they're right or not. You'll figure it out, right? So this brings us to this. Australian bombshell goes mainstream as government admits COVID vaccine harms on healthy infants, children or adolescents. Parents are outraged. If you scroll down, actually, is this the right one? Yes, just play the clip from Ben Fordham's 2GB radio show. Ben Fordham comments.
The federal government has just backflipped on COVID vaccines for children. After years of telling parents to vaccinate their kids, after the press conferences, the campaigns and the pressure, the federal government now says, don't vaccinate kids for COVID. The Australian Immunisation Handbook now says, and I quote, COVID-19 vaccine is not recommended for healthy infants, children or adolescents. Benefits of vaccination are not considered to outweigh the potential harms. Geez, thanks. It's a bit late now. This is the mother of all backflips. Here's what they told us before. In 2021, the then Health Minister Greg Hunt said, we urge all parents to give their children the opportunity to be vaccinated and vaccinated as early as possible. This is an important step in protecting Australia's children. In 2022, the then Chief Medical Officer, Professor Paul Kelly, stated, and I quote, it's very important that children down to the age of 5 are vaccinated. Now they're saying, don't do it. There was also the then Prime Minister Scott Morrison responding to a former Liberal MP, George Christensen, who said kids shouldn't get the vaccination. Scott Morrison replied with this, and I quote, I strongly disagree with the message sent out by Mr. Christensen regarding children's vaccinations. I urge parents to disregard his dangerous messages in relation to vaccines. Well, now, whatever message he was sharing back then, that's what they're saying now in Canberra. COVID-19 vaccine is not recommended for healthy infants, children or adolescents. Benefits of vaccination are not considered to outweigh the potential harms. But the tone from the highest levels of government was, vaccinate your kids. They were pressuring parents to vaccinate their children against COVID. And now they've reversed course. And they've done it quietly. No press conference, no apology, just an update on the government website. And I can only imagine how our friend Monica Iskander must be feeling. The Sydney schoolgirl was told she would not be allowed to sit her final exams if she wasn't vaccinated. And she had a severe reaction to the first jab.
My mum called the ambulance, and as we were waiting for the ambulance to arrive, I got a severe, you know what, Ben, it wasn't even a stitch, it was like a cramp in the chest. And you can't breathe, you can't sit, you can't lie down. It's horrible. Like, you actually feel like you're having a heart attack.
Monica was one of our work experience kids back in the day. These days she works in the media at Channel 7. A specialist confirmed that she had the heart condition pericarditis, which was linked to the vaccine. A cardiologist wrote on Monica's file, Monica has been advised not to take the second dose of the vaccine. She became so sick, she could not sit the high school certificate. Other kids, of course, had side effects that were much more severe than Monica's. Parents were told they were protecting their kids, and now the people in charge just wipe their hands of it and say, we don't recommend you give your kids the COVID vaccine. I think the Australian people deserve an apology. Parents were under so much pressure to get their kids vaccinated, even when they didn't want to. And yet the government doesn't have the guts to admit we got it wrong. Senator Matt Canavan has asked the following question.
It's done.
But the tone from the...
So there you go. Like I said, I think on last week's show, I copped... It's funny, I got a lot of heat from the episode I did, episode 75. You can actually go back and watch it. It's still on YouTube, funnily enough. I copped a lot of heat for that episode, where I went through all of the available data when the Australian government approved the vaccines for kids. And I said that, based on the data, there appears to be no justifiable reason to vaccinate your kids for COVID. At the time they approved the jab for kids under 12 years old, I went through on that show the data on COVID mortality statistics from Australia. And at that point in time, 60-something thousand Australian kids had COVID, and there was one fatality. And we have learnt since then that fatality was with COVID, it had nothing to do with COVID itself. Yeah. So at the time they approved this for kids, and as Ben Fordham stated there so eloquently, the government was pressuring you as parents to get your kids vaccinated. I copped it. I've had 2 kids during the pandemic, right? I had 2 kids. We copped all the pressure, and now at the time, I didn't know if we were right, but I made a call, and I made the hard call. I took the hard option, right? I think too many people, unfortunately, took the easy way out, and they handed their, not authority, they handed their personal agency over to a supposed expert, which now, 5 years, and as we always say, it's always 5 years after it's too late, now the government has come out and reversed course and said, do not vaccinate your kids for COVID-19. This needs to be the wake-up call for so many of you when it comes to just accepting that the government has your best interests at heart. They do not. And it's not COVID, it's not climate change, it's not LGBTQIA plus agenda through schools. It's all of it. None of this is about helping you. All of this is about the age-old favourites. Power, money, control. That's what it all comes down to. It's what it always has come down to. It's what it always will come down to. Because absolute power corrupts absolutely. And the unfortunate thing is, with the political system the way that it works in this country, the only way that you get to being at the top levels of the 2 major parties is if you've done some dodgy deals on the way through.
Yep.
And if you've done those dodgy deals, guess what? You're owned by the people who know about those deals. And you are beholden to them. And that's why whenever you get people into politics who you think, yeah, that guy's really going to make a difference, and then all of a sudden they just turn on a dime and they start saying, towing the party line and saying the complete opposite things. It's because you look at guys like Senator Jared Rennick, who he stuck to his principles when he was a member of the Liberal Party. He spoke against the vaccine rollout. He said that what the government was doing was unscientific. And look what happened to him. He got kicked out of the party because they removed his pre-selection, which basically guaranteed that he wasn't going to win his seat in the latest election, like we just reported that he hasn't. So he's lost a $200,000 a year job on a defined benefit scheme, I might add, and would have had a sizable pension at the end of that had he kept it for enough years, but he lost that based on principle. So these major parties, they do not hold your best interests at heart. They never have and they never will. The fact is, most Western governments continue to support foreign conflicts, both the ones that are already running and starting up new ones. And what does that mean? That means we have to send out young people over there to die. Like forever, the powers that be have sent away the youngest people who have the most life left to live to die in conflicts that do not benefit them. And you think that those people care about you? Of course they don't. You need to care about you. You need to care about your family. You need to care about your community. Like, we need to get back to being more connected as people, because it's safety in numbers, right? If you, like, one of the most insidious things about the pandemic for me, that whole psyop, was they know it's safety in numbers. So they deliberately psyoped us into staying apart.
Yeah.
Social distancing, you know, being locked in your home. The wearing a mask was a signal to everyone that anyone could be a threat to at any time. Because remember, one of the most dangerous things was COVID was the first respiratory virus in history where you could have asymptomatic spread. So even if someone doesn't look like they're infected, they might still have it, they might spread it to you. It was divide and conquer. So the only way you defeat divide and conquer politics is by coming together. And all of the divisive bullshit that we experience every single day, whether it's, you know, vaccine or not vaccinated, or welcomes to country, or LGBTQ, whatever. We're all Australians. We're all in this together. We're all just trying to have the best crack at this life. We only get one shot at it, right? We only get one shot at life. We're all just trying to have the best go at it that we possibly can. Let's realize what the game is. Like, that's the big hint. You have to realize what the game is before you realize how to play it. And really, the game is, the only real divide in our culture that matters is the same divide that has always mattered. It's between the haves and the have-nots. And the haves in this country just happen to be the people who write the laws to make sure that they will continue to have and continue to have more, and you will continue not to have, and you will have less. Like, that's the lesson. And I just really hope that enough people hear that message and actually take some personal agency and do something about it.
Like I said, guys, I all want to experience life on a yacht with you. Let's get the yacht.
Let's get the yacht. All right, guys, let's leave it there. Thanks very much for joining us. Buy some Bitcoin, get yourself a yacht, and we'll see you next week.
There's links in the show if you want to go set up. If you haven't set up an exchange yet, if you go to the show notes, you'll see a link there to CoinSpot. Jason and I use them. They're not sponsored by us. We do get a little something if you set up an account with them. They've been great. They've been really supportive. They both run my personal one, and I've got a business account with them as well. They're awesome. You can start your journey
And
there.
if you do need help getting self set up, just reach out. Instagram DMs are the best way to catch me. All right, let's wrap it up. Thanks very much, guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye.